Hi everyone, my name is Anaí, and today I'm going to be talking about a very sensitive topic, which are the Jim Crow laws. I want to focus my attention on both of these questions, which are what were the original Jim Crow laws and how did they disenfranchise Black citizens, as well as what role did the Voting Rights Act play in ending these laws. By the end of this presentation, I hope I give you all a better and deeper understanding of both of these terms. I want to start by giving you all a bit of a background on these laws and how they were established and what the purpose of them were. So, the Jim Crow laws started in 1877 through 1954 in the United States. The name Jim Crow came from a song and dance named Jump Jim Crow that was created by Thomas Dartmouth and performed in blackface. Later on, it became a derogatory nickname for African Americans. The main purpose of these Jim Crow laws was to prevent any contact between black and whites. In this case, a person of color applied to anyone who was suspected of having a black ancestor and even one in the very distant past. The goal was to maintain racial segregation after the Civil War ended, and of course, it enforced racial segregation in the South because the amount of blacks in the population was very high. It affected almost every aspect of daily life, which I will get into later on in this presentation. And I think it's important to note that these laws varied between states. And so the laws between Arizona, Florida, and California can all have different details, or they can all have a different point of focus. I wanted to include these images I found because I think it's very important to note that these signs were found almost everywhere during these times. I think they made it very clear that there was specific items and locations for the white and for the colored. For example, restrooms and drinking fountains and swimming pools. In the top left, you can see that when there was help wanted, it was only specifically for the whites, and they favoritized, you can say so kindly, um, the white people. So in the bottom, you can see we wash for white people only, and there was waiting rooms for the colored people. So these are all very sensitive images, but I think they're very important to include. So overall, I know it had a negative impact on Black lives. I included this image. As you can see, there was protest against these Jim Crow laws. Overall, there was a systematic inequality. It asserted white supremacy. During this time, they treated Black as second-class citizens, and they prevented Black citizens from voting, which was a very big deal, which I will get into later on. Overall, it affected their regular life, and they had to be very careful as to what they did or where they went because they were being purposely targeted and easily fined or incarcerated if they went to the wrong area. Fortunately, later on, the Voting Rights Act was established in 1965, and President Lyndon B. Johnson signed this act with Martin Luther King. As you can see here in this image, there are other civil rights leaders with them. And this act was aimed to overcome legal barriers at the state and local levels that prevented African Americans from exercising their right to vote as guaranteed under the 15th Amendment to the United States. However, it was very unfortunate that the law was weak and ignored in the South, where the amount of blacks in the population was high. However, before the act was created, people of color were at risk and of getting harassed or physically, there was physical violence or intimidation because they weren't allowed to vote. However, after it had an immediate impact, and by the end of 1965, 250,000 new black voters had been registered, and it slowly progressed and had readapted and strengthened by the years of 1970, 1975, and 1983. And here I included all the references I used in my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I would love to hear the feedback in our discussion post. Thank you.